Two 14-year-old schoolboys decide to take a shortcut across an open grassland behind the back of a ballroom nightclub on the way to their Sea Cadet after-school club. They would end up stumbling upon something that would stay in their minds forever and change their lives, because what they would find would be the decomposing body of a 16-year-old girl hidden under some bushes. This is the tragic story of 16-year-old Lucy Burchell. Lucy Burchell, born on the 6th of September 1979, was said to be the apple of her daddy's eye. She was born to parents Graham Burchell, a lorry driver, and Christine Burchell, a nursery nurse, and she had a 21-year-old brother called Craig. They lived on Cherrington Drive in Great Wyrley, Staffordshire in the West Midlands, and Lucy attended Great Wyrley High School, where she was described as a bright and popular schoolgirl with a rebellious streak. Lucy came from a loving middle-class home and was said to have everything she ever needed. But at her young age, Lucy felt like she wanted more thrill out of life, and she wanted to be more trendy and streetwise. So Lucy lost weight, dyed her brown hair blonde, and started using recreational drugs and coming home late at night. Lucy had begun to rebel. Her parents said that they grounded her many times, and her mother Christine even sat her down to ask if she was using drugs, and also warning Lucy about the company she kept. But Lucy always insisted that they were her friends and she was simply being there for them, and she also denied taking any drugs. Her parents claimed that they struggled to keep Lucy off the streets, as she was rebellious and growing desperate to keep her away from what they saw as a bad crowd. They'd offered to buy Lucy a horse, as she loved horse riding and going to the stables, and they also offered to buy her a car for her 18th birthday. But Lucy continued to rebel, and classmate Adam Baker claimed that Lucy had changed in both attitude and behaviour, and her appearance deteriorated in the weeks and months. Adam claims that Lucy started smoking cannabis and bunked off school, as well as lost weight. Despite Lucy's rebellious period, she excelled at school and said that she wanted to be a journalist or a reporter when she left school, and so she did her work experience at her local newspapers. Lucy was a straight-A student by day, but by night she led a secret double life that her family knew nothing about or would ever imagine. Because Lucy started watching a TV show on British TV channel ITV called Band of Gold, which was a gritty drama about the fictional life of a group of prostitutes who sold their body to punters, and Lucy saw this as a glamorous lifestyle. Lucy was said to have become enthralled and impressed by the show and became fascinated with prostitution. By February 1996, Lucy had decided to become a prostitute. Impressed by the £100 a day she'd be earning, she would go to school by day and work towards her GCSEs. But by night, Lucy was sneaking out with a spare change of clothes and going to her friend's house, 15-year-old schoolgirl Pamela Upton, who lived in a children's home. They would both jump on a night bus to Colma in Warsaw, where they would roam the red light district with older girls at night. Lucy was said to also have a pimp, a black man who was allegedly her boyfriend also, called Pete, and should give a cut of whatever she earned from prostitution to Pete, who was said to be jobless and living solely on the money Lucy provided for him. Lucy, aged 16, who was 5'4" and weighed less than 9 stone, was said to work the streets from her patch outside the Dog and Partridge pub, Colma, Warsaw. In between clients, Lucy would phone a friend. But although her parents knew something was going on, they thought Lucy was taking drugs, and so her mother Christine called the drugs helpline to get advice on what to do. They had no idea that Lucy had been prostituting on the streets at night. 3 weeks before Lucy's 17th birthday, after leaving her home and going to a patch in Warsaw to look for punters, Lucy was approached by 2 Asian men, 26-year-old Tahir Khan and his friend, 25-year-old Rungzab Khan, outside the Dog and Partridge pub in Warsaw, West Midlands. The 2 men propositioned her, and 16-year-old Lucy accepted and got into Tahir's red car, where she was spotted doing so by witnesses. She was driven 12 miles away to Tahir's flat in Ladywood, Birmingham, on Clark Street. It is not known exactly what happened in the flat, but at some point during the night, the 2 men gave Lucy some heroin to eat. Lucy, who had never taken heroin before, became ill and started to fall into a coma. The 2 men, who were described as experienced drug dealers, had given Lucy a highly pure form of heroin, which was 80% pure. Addicts typically take less than 60% pure, and the dose was 10 times the amount that would be medically given for pain relief. It is not known fully the motive of these men for giving Lucy that amount of heroin and why they gave it her to eat, which they would have known was not the typical way people take those drugs. Nor is the motive clear on why they would give Lucy that percentage of pure form, as given their experience as heroin dealers, they knew that that amount would kill her. But it was believed that either they used Lucy as a guinea pig to test what the effects would be if you give someone heroin to eat rather than to smoke or inject in that pure, lethal level of a dose, and to test the strength of the drug. Or it was given to her to incapacitate her and render her unconscious so that they could do whatever they wanted to her without Lucy resisting. Or so they could get her hooked so they could then exploit her as a new client once they'd get her hooked onto heroin. Once Lucy had fallen into a coma, the 2 men left her on the bed and left the flat. That evening, when Lucy's parents arrived home from work at 6 p.m. and Lucy was not home, they called the police to report her missing. Five days later, Lucy was due to get her GCSE results. She'd passed all 8 GCSEs, getting high grades, but she'd never see this, as later on that same day, her decomposing body was found in a bush behind the back of Tower Ballroom, Edgbaston nightclub by a 14-year-old Peter Fenton and his friend, who had taken a shortcut through the wasteland on their way to the Sea Cadets. Investigators were able to identify Lucy by the clothes she was wearing when she was found, that matched up to the reports made a week earlier by her parents, who had reported her missing, describing the clothes she was last seen in before she went missing. Lucy also had a tattoo of the name Bob on her arm, which was a tribute to her idol, Jamaican reggae star Bob Marley, who she was said to be in awe of, which was used to identify her. Initially, police thought that Lucy had been strangled to death, but a post-mortem revealed that she had actually died from a massive heroin overdose after the coroner found a fatal dose of heroin in her stomach, indicating that Lucy had ingested it. Police put out an appeal for any information on what happened to Lucy, and her grief-stricken family made an appeal for any information, with her parents making public a letter that Lucy had written to her parents just 2 days before her disappearance, apologising for the way she'd been acting lately, telling her parents she didn't mean to upset them or her brother Craig, and that there was no reason for them to be worried. Lucy also expressed how much she appreciated her parents and stated how much she loved them. Too distraught to speak on the murder, Lucy's older brother Craig spoke for his sister, claiming that it was an eye for an eye, whoever killed his sister. After the police appeal, A call centre that had been set up for the public to pass on any information they knew about the disappearance of Lucy was flooded with calls and answering machine messages, and a school friend of Lucy's by the name of Teresa Love helped stage a reconstruction of Lucy's last known hours by dressing up as Lucy for the reconstruction to help jog memories. This led to some leads that police were able to follow up. One of those leads being a witness who claimed to have seen Lucy skipping down the road in Ladywood, near to where her body was found, hand in hand with a scruffy man who was aged around 30. Another tip-off claimed to have seen Lucy on the night she died, climbing into a red car outside the pub she was soliciting from. The description of the car, as well as CCTV, led the police to 25-year-old Rungzab Khan of Lyndale Avenue, Hodge Hill, Birmingham, and 26-year-old Tahir Khan, also known as Billa, of Ash Road, Saltley, Birmingham, and both men were arrested 11 days after Lucy's body was found. The two men gave different accounts of what happened, and both blamed each other to save their own skin. During the trial at Birmingham Crown Court, Tahir Khan and Rungzab Khan was both charged with murder, unlawfully preventing the burial, supplying heroin, and possession of heroin with intent to supply. It was learned that after feeding heroin to Lucy, both men then left her on the bed unconscious, then left the flat to go partying at Mirage's nightclub in Kidderminster, returning the next morning to find her dead. The coroner reported that Lucy could have been saved with prompt medical care, but the pair had left her alone in the house to die, doing nothing at all about it. Lucy did not die instantly, but survived the overdose for a time. The pair then contacted a lawyer friend of theirs, who was not named for legal reasons, who advised them to get rid of the body. The unnamed lawyer then allegedly came around to the flat to help the men cover Lucy in a blanket, placed her into a van before leaving the pair to drive off and dump the body. The lawyer was never named or charged. An 18-year-old girlfriend of Tahir by the name of Verity Aston took to the stand and testified that she had accompanied Tahir to get rid of the headboard and mattress off the bed, as well as a washing up bowl, which were thrown into wasteland just in case they had any DNA evidence or Lucy's fingerprints on them. At the end of the trial, both men were found not guilty of murder, but were found guilty of manslaughter by omission for failing to take action that could have saved Lucy's life. Both men were sentenced to 10 years in prison, with the judge, Mr. Justice McKinnon, saying, "You both knew, but you callously and unlawfully left Lucy in that state, taking no steps at all to summon any help, whether medical or otherwise. Not content with that, you dumped the poor girl's body in some undergrowth by a wall by the Tower Ballroom nightclub and sought to conceal it." After the trial, Lucy's brother Craig read a statement from their parents, who were too distraught to speak, ending the statement with, "If there is anything, we hope that other youngsters and parents will learn from what has happened to Lucy." Less than a year after being convicted, Rungzab Khan appealed his conviction and won. The courts ruled that the original trial was flawed and inappropriate, as the original judge did not give the jury any instructions on what circumstances manslaughter by omission can arise. Lord Justice Swinton Thomas, sitting with Mr. Justice Ricks and Mr. Justice Astle, granted Rungzab Khan his appeal because they said that Rungzab Khan did not have to call for medical help for Lucy, as there was nothing in the law that said that he had a duty of care towards Lucy. So the manslaughter by omission verdict was wrong, and therefore the sentence was shortened to just 3.5 years for possession of heroin with intent to supply, as well as preventing a burial. Lucy's parents was not made aware of any appeal hearings even taking place, but was left devastated, with Lucy's mother, Christine, saying, "I just gasped and couldn't believe it could happen. I just can't believe 2 drug dealers can give a 16-year-old girl a massive overdose of heroin and know she is in deep distress and just leave her to die, and the law says that's okay."